10,000 steps to supersize you. Oh, if it were only that simple. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 160 of our Supersize You annual challenge. And today and all this month, we're talking about the physical area and aspect of the life framework. I use a 9-part life framework to take some of the crazy and chaos out of my life and make a semblance of order to it. So I use that framework, and I'm sharing it this year in the annual challenge, to pretty much manage everything in my life. And I go through, I do all the things I'm teaching you, and they've served me very well. I'm still here after having a sudden cardiac arrest in 2010, and most people aren't able to say that because they're not here anymore. And still going strong. Just had my 66th birthday not too long ago, but I have a cold right now. But I feel like it's on the upswing, so I am going strong. So we're going to talk about 10,000 steps today, as well as the O in our SOAP framework. And so I don't forget this, let's go ahead and talk about that first. O in our SOAP framework, this is a framework I came up with and started sharing in 2020 as my way of keeping moving and going forward and not settling for all the nonsense that was going on in the world during the pandemic. And so every other month for 2 years plus, I shared a 31 plus day challenge. I called it the Get Up and Go Challenge. Why? So that I would get my ASS up and go and be productive every single day. Even, and it was actually better because it was me being productive on things that were a priority to me versus things that were a priority for other people outside of me. And so it ended up being one of the best things I've ever done is coming up with and sharing and using this framework to keep me moving forward. Saved countless individuals and countless businesses by sharing this with them. And that's why I continue to share it today. Every month as part of the annual challenge, I will go through the SOAP framework specifically with the area that we're focusing on. So this month we're using it with respect to physical health and well-being. So we pick one physical thing, and yesterday we decided, okay, what's the current situation? What is the current result I'm getting? What's my current story? And a couple sentences about that. Then we asked ourselves, okay, well, what do I want? What is my desired physical optimum level based on the thing that I'm focusing on for this 4-step process and 4-day challenge? Challenge within a challenge, right? You know, I like to pile those challenges on. So all we're going to do is we are thinking about what we came up with yesterday, where we are versus where we want to be. And I like to focus on the where I want to be part when I'm brainstorming, because that's what we're going to do today as our action item. Brainstorming at least 10. I call it the 10-3-1 tool because we brainstorm at least 10 things. And that's intentional because otherwise our brains like to say, well, we either do this or it's the end of the world. We either do that or we're never going to be healthy. We actually, our brains try to keep us safe by working in absolutes and keeping us in this tiny little comfort zone ball, which we're busting out of this year in a very big way. So today, our action item with respect to the SOAP framework is to think about the gap and how do we get from where we are to where we want to be. Now, I don't care how outrageous your ideas are, but brainstorm at least 10 of them to get us out of that duality thinking. And tomorrow we're going to deal with those as part of the A. That's all I'm going to say. If you've been with me a while, you know exactly what comes next, but we're going to keep it a surprise for everyone else. So our topic today is obviously 10,000 steps. Now, I have lots of stories around the 10,000 step thing. I never even thought about this, I don't think for a single minute. Maybe when I was in college and I was trying to lose my freshman 25 or freshman 15, I thought about it and exercised and worked out and ran and did all the crazy things. But once I got out and started, actually I belonged to a health club when I was in my first job in corporate America, too, for 5 years. I was single and I had time, right? Work time. And I worked a weird schedule. So it made it really easy to work out because the club was open 24 hours a day. So I guess I always did back then when I was younger, got my 10,000 steps. And then there was a few decades in between when I stopped doing anything. I was busy running through my life, raising kids, running companies, and working in corporate America at the time, being married. It was, part of what contributed to my sudden cardiac arrest. But I got 10,000 steps for a few decades. Then I gave up and didn't even pay attention for a few decades because I was too busy running through my life. And then following my cardiac arrest, it was like, okay, I got to do something. So I took my health seriously, probably literally for the maybe only second time in my life at that point. And I knew that I was going to have to figure it out. I was going to have to figure out what had happened to me. I was going to have to figure out what I needed to do to still be here today talking to you and to be here for my family and those I love and care about. And that meant massive lifestyle changes. I had already given up. This is really interesting, I think. And I don't know if it's a coincidence or not. I like to tell people that the reason I'm still here is from all the formaldehyde and things in all the diet soda and coffee and caffeine that I consumed the previous decade or so. I don't know if that's true or not, but I did give up diet pop and coffee literally a month and 7 days prior to my sudden cardiac arrest. I know that had nothing to do with it. It was just a timing thing. But I did go on a journey to find out what the heck had happened to me because I was super curious because why, when the doctors tell you that you're a miracle, because usually anybody that has an event like this, only 6% of people are found in time to resuscitate. And of those 6%, only another 6 or 7% come out of that situation without brain damage, major organ damage, major health challenges for the rest of their life. And I was one of those that woke up, said WTF, and was very disoriented when they took me out of the frozen coma. And decided I was not going to be one of those statistics that didn't make it. I was going to make massive lifestyle changes. And one of the first things I did was say, okay, I'm going to exercise every day for a year. Now, my family literally guffawed in my face, and I'm sure ridiculed me endlessly behind my back. But guess what? I exercised every day that year. I exercised every day for the next 8 years in a row. And then I had another bedridden health challenge. I couldn't get out of bed. And missed about a week, or I probably missed 3 weeks total because I literally couldn't even walk to the bathroom, much less go and do exercise. But I did try to do things in bed, which is pretty funny, actually. So 10,000 steps, what does that have to do with anything? I don't know if this is scientifically backed. I suspect there's some studies or some science behind it, and that's why it became such a thing that everybody latched onto. But Fitbits came out, and I actually burned through 5 or 6 Fitbits in that 8-year period that I was out walking and doing exercise every single day. If it was raining, I was on my exercise bike. If it was nice out, I was probably at the state park near my home. But 10,000 steps a day is kind of like the benchmark to, you're being active enough to stay at I'm going to say average healthy level. Let's talk about, I'm not even going to get into statistics. Americans are less healthy and heavier and worse off than they have ever been. I will, of course, blame pharmaceutical industry and processed foods, which is the food industry, which I was a part of for 35 years. So I don't know how much of a part I played in that. If I did, it was unknowingly, but I probably did contribute to processed foods and ease of meals and foods and massive calorie consumption with my Italian food manufacturing business. But 10,000 steps. Following my cardiac arrest, I made it easy for me to get 10,000 steps. I would, before I even started work at the Italian food business on Monday through Thursday, I would go for a walk down to the dike, it's called. It's just an old bridge halfway across the river between Wisconsin and Minnesota. And I would walk down there before I started work and get my head clear and think about what was going to happen, what needed to happen for the day. Because I wasn't just in the Italian food business. I was also in real estate businesses and a couple of other things as well. Because, you've got to have all your fingers in all the pies. And and then again at lunchtime, instead of eating a big heavy lunch, I would do a walking lunch and I would walk down to the dike and back again. Then after work, I would usually go to the state park and do at least one of the trails. So anywhere between 45 minutes and an hour, I would do there every day as well. So the unexpected consequence and benefit of that I found was I got really clear and very organized in terms of what I was doing with respect to my businesses and other areas and aspect of my life. Because I actually gave myself a pause and time to think about it. So why do we want to do this? Well, number one, 10,000 steps gets our body moving, gets oxygen moving through our body, our blood moving, our heart rate up. It reduces the risk of disease. It does all kinds of things like we've talked about so far this month. Reduces stress, allows us thinking time, helps us to think more clearly. Helps us manage our weight. In 2011, I actually got an analysis, and I was at the health level of a 27-year-old. Now, I was 50 going on, I might have been 51 at the time I did that analysis. I got that workup. And I was pretty delighted with that because I was 50 and almost half my age physical level after just having gone through a sudden cardiac arrest. I was pretty stoked about that. Now, I'm probably up to an 80-year-old again now with this cold and things. So what are we going to do with this? I challenge you today. Number one, share in the comments below how many steps you estimate you got yesterday. Heck, we can do it on our phones nowadays. Our phones will count the number of steps that we take and go on throughout the day. You probably didn't know that, did you? Always watching, always listening. Yeah, if you believe that and you care about it. You know what? I guess I believe it's true, but I don't care. My life is not that controversial. Record anything you want. So how many steps did you get yesterday? Just be honest. You don't have to share in the comments below. Share in the comments below your goal for steps today. You know, and if you're just getting started and 2,000 steps today is your goal, write it down and be proud of that. We're only ever comparing ourselves to ourselves. So do what you can with what you've got right now, and then tomorrow do a little bit better. Do 5 more steps, do 10 more steps, do 100 more steps than you did today, but do what works for you. And then share in the comments below either that you've done it or the number of steps that you plan on doing today. You decide. I would love to hear some stories about this besides me burning through all my Fitbits. If you want to hear the stories of my Fitbits, you can just ask and I'll do a separate little video about it because some of my stories about my Fitbits were quite funny. All right, go out, make it an amazing day. Don't forget to brainstorm your 10 options to fill the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And if you need any help, you know what to do. Just ask. All right, have a great day, and I will, of course, be with you tomorrow.